Hello, and thanks for joining me, Phil Spencer, for my latest insider guide for renters. My Move IQ website is packed with advice and help for tenants, and something I particularly recommend is the free tenancy agreement checklist. There's a link below to get yours. It is absolutely free. And while you're there, please make sure that you're subscribed to this channel and have your alerts turned on. The tenancy agreement checklist, I really think is a must-have if you're moving to a new place, and a handy familiarization tool even if you're halfway through a contract. You'd be amazed at how many people don't really know the ins and outs of their own tenancy agreement. One of the things you might not know, and one which causes an understandable amount of anxiety, is whether your landlord could increase the rent. Could you suddenly find yourself unable to meet the rent demands? Well, the answer is yes. Landlords can increase the rent, but you do have rights, and it's important that you're aware of them. This is where knowing your tenancy agreement in detail comes in really handy, because when your landlord can put up the rent and by how much should be outlined in that document. The good news is that your landlord can't just increase your rent whenever they like by any amount they like. Depending on the type of tenancy you have, there are rules to follow. For example, with an assured short-hold tenancy, your rent can be increased every year. If you have a periodic tenancy, that's one that rolls on week by week or month by month, your landlord can't usually increase rent more than once a year without your agreement. With a fixed-term tenancy, rent can be increased if you agree to it. Otherwise, the rent can only go up after the fixed term ends. How much can your landlord hike the rent by? Another big question. Well, the law says increases must be fair and realistic, for instance, in line with local average rents. One common trigger for a rent increase is if you have a rent review clause in your contract. Again, you really need to know the details of your tenancy agreement. If you do, it should say how much the rent can increase, what notice you'll get, 6 months if you have a yearly tenancy, and when the increase will actually start. Alternatively, if you sign up for a new rental term, it may be offered to you at a higher rent. But if your landlord gets in touch during your rental term to offer you a new contract at a higher rate, you don't have to agree to it. Finally, a Section 13 notice is a formal way of informing you of a rent increase if you have a periodic or a short-hold tenancy, and that can only happen once a year. So there's a lot to get your head around. So is there anything that you can do to prevent a rent increase? Well, depending on how your landlord tries to do it, you might be able to refuse it. They must follow the rules, and if they simply ask for more rent, you don't have to agree to it. Even if they do follow the rules, you could try and negotiate. Perhaps they're suggesting your rent increases from $800 a month to $850. So you could ask $825. It is a bit of a game, it is a bit of a process, it's negotiation. You may find that some landlords could prefer to slightly decrease the hike in rent than have to find brand new tenants and risk a void period, that kind of thing. You could also appeal to a tribunal or contact citizens' advice if necessary. Whatever you do, don't stop paying rent, even if you are challenging the rent increase, because if you do that, you can fall into rent arrears, and that's a different kettle of fish. I hope that's been helpful. Please do make sure that you're subscribed to this channel for all the latest advice for renting, buying, and selling. You'll find even more of it over on the Move IQ website, moveiq.co.uk.